So if I can bring this up, then there's also just like pouches to put stuff in. So
We're all going to be imitating him by the end of the day.
The master at work.
for now.
All right, unfortunately, Franz's knee has been injured, so we're gonna ask him a couple questions now that have been added. First question is, we've been using medieval cloak tents for this trip, and I was just wondering if you could say some things about how the cloak tent has affected travel, how have you been using it, etc.
I've been using it as a bed mat and to wrap around almost like a second blanket. It's probably not as good as a second blanket, but it does have the advantage that it can be used to shelter you better in the rain.
All right, second question is, what were your expectations coming on this research project? Why did you choose to come do this thing? Yeah, what got you into it?
I enjoy history and camping, so I wanted to try a combination of them both. I wanted to try using my flint and steel and historical shoes. I was able to do that. There's other reasons, but I can't think of them right now.
All right, that'll be good for now. All right, so unfortunately, Franz needs to leave us a little early due to some knee issues, and so we're going to do his conclusion interview now. First, I'd like you to rate the difficulty of carrying the sword and buckler on a scale of 1 to 10.
3.
What are the factors that influence that decision?
The only real difficulty is if it's positioned wrong, but if it's positioned right, I almost don't even notice it's there.
All right, I'd like you to rate the difficulty of carrying the longbow on a scale of 1 to 10.
7. The arrows more than the longbow, where because I couldn't figure out how to tie them correctly, they kept bouncing against my leg and it was just annoyance, and sometimes would fall out if you move in the wrong way.
I'd like you to rate the difficulty of carrying the long sword on a scale of 1 to 10.
4, maybe. Yeah, probably a 4. It's just a little longer than the shorter sword that goes with the buckler, so it might bump against some things on the ground. It's the only real difference.
All right, now we're going to move on to the next section of questions. Please rank the weapons you carried from easiest to hardest to travel with. And if you need a second to think about it, that's okay too.
Sword and buckler.
Okay.
Longsword, spear, bow, and quiver.
All right. Do you have any general thoughts about traveling with these weapons, other than what you've already said?
Some can be used as an aid in walking, but you could just use a walking stick as well. With the spear, it's long enough that it touches branches. And if you're holding bags like I was in my hand, it makes it, you're holding something in both hands, which is difficult. So the weapons that were easiest were the ones you didn't need to hold.
How did traveling in medieval footwear affect the difficulty of travel? Explain your answer.
Little, I'm not sure if my injury was related to the footwear or it was just related to walking with heavy gear. You could feel beneath your feet better, and I think it didn't impact it much. Some minor discomfort, but overall they're effective shoes.
What was the most difficult thing to carry for the journey?
Probably just having multiple bags along with a weapon in your hand. That's not any one thing, but maybe the bow.
All right. This study deviated in several ways from the majority of medieval pilgrimage. One of them is that we camped instead of staying in hostels. Do you have any thoughts about how this might have impacted the experience?
Bugs were quite annoying, so especially the first night I didn't get as much sleep, but a hostel wouldn't have had that problem, and also you could have gotten food at the hostel. We had to carry our food, so probably the main one would be food, not having to carry so much food.
Another deviation was the lack of official holy sites. Like, we just had natural areas to stop at. Do you have any thoughts about how this might have affected the experience?
Changes the purpose of it, and when you're stopping, there's not like a ritual that you're going through while you're there. You're just unpacking, and then there's a different purpose to it.
What would you say your purpose was on this trip?
To learn more about the equipment I'm carrying and myself, and to experience nature and camping.
If you were to undertake a journey like this again, what would you bring or not bring?
Bring an extra blanket. I'd bring less food, but would try to just deal with being a little hungry. And I bought multiples of certain things that I wouldn't bring.
Do you have any other thoughts or insights from participating in this recreation about medieval pilgrimage, pre-modern travel, anything like that?
One would be that in pre-modern times, if you're traveling, usually use pack animals or a boat. If you're traveling extensive distances enough that you need food, or try to forage food as you go along the way. If you need food for more than a week, you're gonna be carrying way too much. That's the one that comes to mind right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Franz.
Thank you.
What day of travel is this?
2.
What weapon were you carrying?
The longsword.
And I would like you to rate the encumbrance of the weapon you carried today on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being negligible and 10 being severely encumbering.
I would give it a 5.
What factors about carrying this weapon affected your rating?
Yesterday I had the sword and buckler, and so I was really kind of comparing the two while I was traveling, and the longsword really seemed to require almost another hand to keep it stable. Otherwise, it would really kind of swing back and hit into my legs, or if I was carrying another bag, the pommel would swing forward and kind of hit that bag. And so it was fine as long as I had a hand on it the whole time, and even then it could kind of get tangled into the underbrush. But the sword and buckler felt more secure, and that it's shorter. Just didn't get in the way as much. And so it wasn't terrible or anything, but I definitely felt like it was something I needed to be thinking about, especially if I was going to be carrying a bunch of stuff. And that kind of feeds into previous thoughts I had about the longsword being more of an upper class weapon, where you can just be having that weapon because you don't need to carry other stuff.
Do you have any thoughts about how your shoes impacted your travel today?
No, again, they were pretty great. Roots are the hardest because it can kind of hit the middle of the foot where it's not very protected. But no, I haven't had any blisters, which on previous hikes where I've done modern shoes, I've definitely had blisters by this point, and there haven't been any with the medieval shoes. I just took them off for the first time in 3 days, and they've been super handy and comfortable.
I would like you to rate the difficulty of today's journey on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not difficult at all, 10 being nigh on impossible.
I'd give today a 4. It's been much better than yesterday. I think morale is up. The trail was easier. We kind of knew more what we were doing, and then we have an awesome campsite for tonight and got to swim in the river. So it's been pretty great.
Any other thoughts you'd like to share about today's travel?
Those are the big ones. I do think it's been interesting thinking about the group and what we each kind of take from the experience and how we kind of relate to it through shared narratives and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
What day of travel is this?
It's the second day.
What weapon were you carrying today?
The sword and buckler.
I would like you to rate the encumbrance of the weapon you carried today on a scale of 1 to 10.
I guess 6.
What factors about carrying this weapon affected your rating?
It was heavy, so it's heavy, and then a positive. I was kind of like I had to, and it would kind of like move over this way and kind of get in my way in different ways, and then if you didn't have it right, it would sort of hit the ground. So you had to get it right. But what was kind of nice about it was because of the sword and buckler kind of created a stop for the bag. So other days the bag would slide all the way around. Today, like, the sword and buckler kind of kept the bag in place. So that was a benefit of the sword and buckler. That was good. Yeah, I mean, it did allow your hand to be free. So I was kind of doing a thing today where I had 2 walking sticks for a while, and that was kind of nice because I could have the sword and buckler and then 2 kind of walking sticks. You couldn't do that with one of the others. So I don't know. It's 5, 6. I'm not sure. Maybe 6. It is heavy, but I was wondering if that affects anything. I didn't really feel its weight per se, but it seems like it would add to the total weight.
Did you have any thoughts about how your shoes impacted your travel today? And this kind of blends in with the next question.
Well, today was a modification day, so I wore my modern Birks, and that definitely helped as far as, well, today was not as rocky too, but it did help as far as my heels feeling like the rocks. And by like 1 o'clock the other day, I just felt like, man, my feet are really sore, kind of thing. So they did feel less sore because they were taking the impact more from the rocks. However, I did, like, when I was walking, I like kicked a root, and in the medieval shoes I didn't do that at all. And like I kicked the root and then it hurt my toe because it went into my toe. With the medieval shoes I didn't do that. When I do usually do that with modern shoes, I don't know if that's a thing or not, but the medieval shoes, you're kind of like always more aware of the ground because you can feel the ground with your feet. So.
All right. I would like you to rate the difficulty of today's journey on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not difficult at all and 10 being nigh on impossible.
I would give today, it's like a 6. 6.
Awesome. Any other thoughts you'd like to share about today's travel?
Let's see, today's travel. Oh, well, today was I wore the cloak. We took the tents. Are you gonna ask separate questions about the tents? Or?
Yeah, but if you want to expound, that's fine.
I'll do it in the tent section, I guess.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Let's see anything else about the day. I don't know. We were talking a little more today. That made it a little more fun too. I think something more. We lost Franz.
All right.
Dylan had the good one. Sometimes it feels like he's still here. Dylan was bringing it with the funny jokes today. That was good.
Yeah.
What else about it with this stuff? Was today the weird roots, or that was yesterday, right?
It was like this. We had those at the start of today, but
Was at the start of today, but
Yeah.
mostly it was
Mostly
the
it
end
was
of
yesterday,
yesterday.
yeah.
That was. Wonder what that is. That was my least favorite.
yeah.
I guess for the second, we did like pick up the pace a little bit, and it felt like if you can just keep walking a little faster, it's almost better because the amount of effort is mostly about holding up the stuff, and so to hold it up like over a longer period of time, if you can kind of keep the pace. So
All right. Thank
Yep.
you very much.
you're welcome. Today was the first day wearing the cloak tent rather than packing it, and that was preferred. It was felt lighter. Dylan kind of found a way to make arms in the cloak, and then too the cloak, as a cloak, it kind of padded the straps, so that was preferable too. So I think we're gonna, moving forward, that's the way we're gonna do it.
Awesome.
Cloak, a lot of uses. There's kind of a freedom in like, oh, now I can I have a thing to throw on the ground, a big tarp basically, which I wouldn't have known. So that I could see the value in that.
All right.
All right.
What day of travel is this?
2.
What weapon were you carrying today?
A spear.
I would like you to rate the encumbrance of the weapon you carried today on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being negligible and 10 being severely encumbering.
Like a 4.5.
What factors about carrying this weapon affected your rating?
Well, it's just, it takes up your dominant hand the entire time, and it's too heavy to really feasibly use as for help walking in most circumstances. If you try it, you're just lifting it up over and over again. It just gets tiring, and of course it's tall, so it's just bonking into the tops of trees. You have to figure out how to manage it mostly, but it's manageable, which is why it's not like higher than a 5, but it requires constant managing, unlike some of the other stuff that just sits there.
Do you have any thoughts about how your shoes impacted your travel today?
It's the damn roots again. Mostly the roots. I feel like with the spear, having to pay attention to the spear, there was less awareness into placing my feet well, and so that I got a bit more, my legs are a bit more sore, and that had a few more missteps. Trail wasn't as bad, but I mean, generally I'd say they were nice. They're generally nice. Haven't blistered yet.
Did you make any accommodations to make your footwear more comfortable? If so, what?
No, still not really. Just
I would like you to rate the difficulty of today's journey on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not difficult at all, and 10 being nigh on impossible.
I think this was like a 4, no, a low 4 today.
Any other thoughts you'd like to share about today's travel?
It was just really nice getting in the river. Not the travel overall felt
better than yesterday. There was, I felt like we were more relaxed and stuck together more. And it's, you know, you don't just find yourself in the middle of the woods, alone with nothing to pay attention to but your feet. So, it was a nice day. It's a beautiful day.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Well, when I sleep, I need to be sitting up, and so this tree is perfect because I can just lean and be at this angle. You know, you call it the Peter Jackson sit. This is how the genius of Lord of the Rings made his masterpiece, was in this position. Or you've got a lower branch. If you're feeling a little better, you can go down here. It's pretty
Nice.
sweet.
And what else is nice about this current one?
Oh, I'm surrounded by swords, which is how I like to sleep.
And this half of the blade is the strong. That's because the strong can apply leverage. The weak cannot. The strong can take, the weak can fall off and go to the other side. So, but anyways, using Costa di Sinistra, I use that turning motion, and I've turned my hips this way, I have the strong of my blade on the weak, which means I can apply leverage to Leo, and I can move. And I'm also like, you can see how this is.
Kind of locked
This
in
is
there.
protecting me, and it makes it difficult for Leo to do something. If Leo does that, then I'm just,
I'm done.
yeah.
And then the long sword and the lance are war weapons. And so my question was, is this differentiation because they're actually easier to travel with? Or is there some other cultural reason that these are the weapons associated with travelers?
Sure.
So that's one of the main things we're testing on our little journey here.
Do you have a theory?
I'm keeping my theories because I don't want to influence the volunteers.
Oh, gotcha.
But obviously, in historical sources, it's this and the longbow that are more often. So you'd think that they'd be easier to travel with. But remains to be seen, I suppose.
Yeah.